Good day, everyone. I'm Andrea Mitchell in Chicago, where day 2 of the Democratic National Convention is promising surprise guests throughout today's ceremonial roll call. Tonight's headliners have the Obamas taking the stage here in their own hometown to rally for Kamala Harris. Harris and Tim Walz, meanwhile, will be in nearby Milwaukee. It's about an hour and a half from here, in the same arena where the Republicans held their convention last month before she and Tim Walz return here to Chicago later tonight. Harris making a surprise appearance on the convention stage Monday as she starts trying to define her own campaign.
Let us fight for the ideals we hold dear, and let us always remember, when we fight, we win.
The night stretching past midnight, culminating with an emotional and bittersweet tribute to President Biden from his daughter Ashley, who called him the original girl dad. Biden calling it the highlight of his night, tearing up. The First Lady reflecting on their 50-year partnership, calling her husband's accomplishments made in the name of something bigger than himself. As President Biden then passed the torch to his vice president. Hillary Clinton also handed off the baton after staying largely out of the spotlight since losing her own presidential bid to Donald Trump in 2016. Clinton, dressed in suffragette white, said that Harris is now the one to break that ultimate glass ceiling.
When a barrier falls for one of us, it falls. It falls and clears the way for all of us. I want my grandchildren and their grandchildren to know I was here at this moment, that we were here, and that we were with Kamala Harris every step of the way. The future is here. It's in our grasp. Let's go win it.
We begin with NBC News White House correspondent Mike Memoli, Washington Post senior national political correspondent Ashley Parker, and Michael Shear, White House correspondent from the New York Times. So, Mike, that speech was the kind of speech we haven't heard from Hillary Clinton, also from Joe Biden. I mean, Joe Biden was stronger or more powerful. We hadn't seen him in recent months like that. And we haven't seen him that often in recent months, and certainly not up close. And he really brought it.
Well, I think it's so interesting, Andrea, when you talk about Secretary Clinton and President Biden. These are two individuals who had conventions that weren't exactly as they would have planned it themselves. In 2016, there was a sizable Bernie Sanders delegation. We remember how there were heckling, there were boos while she was speaking. And then, of course, President Biden didn't have a convention in 2020 because of COVID-19. We see also how good they are at advocating for others, maybe better even than advocating for themselves.
Isn't that interesting?
Biden, of course, such a loyal vice president to President Obama. But I thought really what was so notable about President Biden, he said he has a lot more he still wants to do, and he very clearly had a lot he wanted to say. That speech was one that he could have given as the nominee if he was still running, laying out the case for what he did in office and then adapting it to make the point that Kamala Harris has been a very important part of his administration, and then going after Donald Trump in a way that Vice President Harris has not yet herself been doing as well. That's an important role that he'll continue to play.
And Michael Shear, Nancy Pelosi, she was watching the president speak last night from the front row as he insisted there's no hard feelings. Let's watch.
All this talk about how I'm angry at all those people who said I should step down. That's not true.
So, Michael, square that with your own deep take, with all your reporting at the New York Times that we've been fascinated by in terms of the role that Nancy Pelosi played behind the scenes.
Yeah, I mean, Pelosi was one of, a handful of probably the most important people operating, some publicly. I mean, she made some moves publicly to try to push him out, but a lot behind the scenes as well, coordinating and talking to others and trying to figure a way to kind of move past the Joe Biden era before it was too late.
And reflecting the Democratic caucus and their
reflecting
views.
the Democratic caucus, reflecting, frankly, the will of the voters who had said for more than a year that they wanted a different choice. There is reporting, and Ashley's paper, The Post, has done a lot of it as well, that suggests that he really is frustrated frustrated, angry, pick your word, about these people who had been his allies, he'd known for decades, who at this moment decided that they'd had enough and they wanted
they
something
still
else.
haven't talked. Unless they talked late last night.
They still hadn't talked. He said as he left Chicago well after midnight, he was asked a question about it, and he said essentially, "No, I'm not angry," etc. But there's one thing that politicians say publicly. It's sort of the decorum that you have to do, and there's another thing. There's a difference in what you actually feel, and I think the history books will probably unearth some of this. And there's reasons for him to kind of tamp down that talk.
And in fact, from my own reporting, Michael and Ashley and Mike, she did not come to that immediately after the debate. It was only a few days later when she started to realize, in fact, she still thought they could hold the House, only 5 seats. But it was when she realized they were not going to be able to hold the House, according to the growing consensus, and the Senate and the White House, that the institutionalist at her time in life, when she felt that her great success was a Democratic leadership of the House and a Speaker, that's when she got into gear. And we're hearing the rehearsals behind us, but I know you can still hear us.
And we all saw that evolution of the messaging over the course of those 2 or 3 weeks after the debate.
So, Ashley, Hillary Clinton, we both covered her in 2008. I know I did. I don't know, but you did too. And 2016. And she was in her best form last night. She had a really deep withdrawal after, let's just call it that, according to all friends, after 2016. They didn't expect it then to lose to Trump. Not only to lose to Trump, but then to see what he began unwinding in terms of the legacy. So here was her trying to joke about her own experiences with Donald Trump.
It is no surprise, is it, that he is lying about Kamala's record. He's mocking her name and her laugh. Sounds familiar. But we have him on the run now.
And she talked, not ruefully, but, as a matter of history and progress, that she did not break the glass ceilings, but she, I think, feels, and other women feel, and male analysts, that she paved the way. She made it more acceptable for men and women to think of a woman as commander-in-chief.
Oh, absolutely. And I was on the floor when she came out, and I was struck by so many things. The first is just how much she represents good and bad to so many people. I turned, and there was a young man with tears in his eyes, ebullient as she took the stage. And there was a woman, slightly older, middle-aged woman, as she took the stage, who said, "No, thank you." And it sort of encapsulated everything she grappled with. But I was also reminded again of just what a professional she is. I mean, you have to think it's Hillary Clinton. She is coming out at a convention where she wanted to break that glass ceiling, right? I mean, it has to be so bittersweet to appear before this crowd, not as the nominee, not as the one poised to do it. She also experienced, I was wondering if it was for the first time, the lock him up chants that she was subject to on the reverse side for so many years. And she was just calm and eloquent and unruffled in a way that I think it would be difficult for any other politician, male or female, to maintain.
You're nodding, Mike, that we're also hearing from both Clinton people and Harris people that Harris reached out to her immediately after Joe Biden stepped aside to give her that respect, and also consulted her before she announced choosing Walz.
It's so interesting because you haven't heard, just like we haven't heard Vice President Harris making the case as aggressively anti-Trump as some of the other Democrats have. She is not making this glass ceiling case the way that Hillary Clinton can now uniquely do for her. She's making a case for her own candidacy, but she also recognizes at the same time, she often quotes her mother, you may be the first, but you will not be the last, as the Vice President also puts it. She does feel that sense of obligation for women, but she's doing it in her own way, in a different way than Hillary.
And this, of course, is Chicago. She was raised in suburban Chicago. I went there for her 50th birthday celebration, when She was, well, remember, Ashley, all of that. Ashley, one of the other things is that there is a pettiness, can we just say, in some of the attacks. I'm just saying that. J.D. Vance went after the Walleses, who've been very open about their fertility problems. Gwen Walls wrote a piece in Glamour.
Yeah.
And to be public about that is not easy for anyone, you know, especially someone on this stage. And he went after them, saying that they exaggerated because it was a different type of fertility, not, you know, in vitro.
IVF, yeah.
And it was intrauterine. And to, I mean, when people are talking about fertility, they're just talking about fertility. They're trying to have children. And to say that he's exaggerating about their types of fertility treatments just strikes me as what is going on with this campaign.
Well, I will just say it is hard for me, J.D. Vance, who's already struggled with women voters and previous things he said, it is hard to see how this is in any way a winning argument. As a woman of a certain age with a young family who has friends of that same age, I am deeply versed with IVF versus IUI versus IUI with Clomid versus freezing eggs versus banking embryos. And it is devastating, and it is heartbreaking, and it is stressful, and it is sometimes joyful, but it is not something that any American wants to be made into a political attack.
We're going to have to leave it there. It's just so great to have all of you and your great experience. Ashley, Mike, Michael, thank you. And in just 90 seconds, we'll be back. Kentucky Governor Andy Beshear, fresh off his Democratic National Convention speech last night, why he thinks reproductive rights need to be front and center this election. You're watching Andrea Mitchell Reports live at the DNC. Stay with us right here on MSNBC.
Smell like death.
Want to know my secret for staying fresh in the afterlife?
Please.
I use Secret Whole Body Deodorant.
Does it leave a residue?
Actually, it goes on clear with no embarrassing white marks.
You're a lifesaver.
Well, no. It's too late for that.
Ugh, when is my allergy spray gonna kick in?
You need Astapro.
Astapro?
It's faster, bro. 8 times faster than Flonase.
It's faster, bro.
It's faster, bro.
It's faster, bro.
It's mom to you.
Astapro starts working in 30 minutes. Astapro and go.
Work. Play. Blink. Relief. Work. Play. Blink. Relief.
The only 3-in-1 extended relief formula for dry eyes.
Blink.
This is how AG1 works to upgrade your health routine. By combining many quality ingredients into something powerfully simple. It's time to get foundational nutrition at drinkag1.com.
A Chewy order is on the way for Rue, who can speak for himself, but can't shop for himself. So when he gave his Rue of approval on the food Dad bought on Chewy, Dad put it on autoship. So it always gets delivered right on Rue's schedule. The flavor Rue loves, the savings they love. For automatic delivery and 5% savings, for life with pets, there's Chewy.
As Republicans continue trying to further restrict reproductive rights in the 2 years since the Dobbs decision, Democrats are making abortion and related health care a major campaign issue. Certainly, Kamala Harris, as vice president, led the way on that. On the convention stage last night, we heard heart-wrenching stories from 2 women and a married couple about the restrictions in red states like theirs, including a young woman from Kentucky, Hadley Duvall.
I was raped by my stepfather after years of sexual abuse. I can't imagine not having a choice. But today, that's the reality for many women and girls across the country because of Donald Trump's abortion bans. He calls it a beautiful thing. What is so beautiful about a child having to carry her parents' child?
And joining me now is Kentucky Governor Andy Beshear, who praised Hadley for her bravery at the convention last night to be so public about her experience. The governor was on the short list as a potential Harris VP, so you went through all of that. So why do you think abortion is and should be such a big issue for Democrats?
Well, it's a big issue because this is a constitutional right that was ripped away from my mom, my wife, my daughter, and every other woman in America. It removes the right for women to make choices about their own body, about whether to pursue IVF, which is now under attack. They're even being attacked on choices about whether to have children at all. And then you see someone like Hadley Duvall, an amazing person, one of the bravest people, certainly, that I have ever met. And when she shares her story, you understand. You can see the actual real impact that this has on people. And for her to have gone through what she went through, to have had no options if it were today, is just simply wrong. And I think everybody can agree with that.
You know, and the other two women were from Texas and Louisiana and had had non-viable pregnancies in some cases and had no options. J.D. Vance, I don't know if you know this, is blasting what you said this morning on Morning Joe. Okay? I'm going to just prepare you for this. Saying that well, let me take a look at what he said about you.
J.D. Vance calls pregnancy resulting from rape inconvenient. Like, inconvenience is traffic. I mean, make him go through this.
So what he's saying is that you were somehow suggesting, he said, what the hell is this? Why is Andy Bashir, he tweeted this out, wishing that a member of my family would get raped? What a disgusting person. So how do you respond to that? I mean,
well,
is that what you were talking about?
Of course not. It's ridiculous, but it's also deflection. I mean, J.D. Vance knows that he and Donald Trump are so wrong on this issue, and so he's trying to make himself the victim. Listen, Hadley Duvall was a victim. The women that were on the stage last night, the couple that had to go through a non-viable pregnancy are victims. You know, as a man, J.D. Vance will never have to face any of this personally. But it's sad that he lacks the empathy to be able to put himself in a different position and to understand why having exceptions, having reproductive freedom is so important in the first place. Obviously, I'd never wish harm on anyone. And it just, again, deflection, trying to make himself and Donald Trump the victims.
And also get your reaction to former President Trump and Lindsey Graham, for that matter, both saying that abortion should not be a major issue this campaign.
Well, tell that again to those women and that couple that were on the stage last night. Their pain, what they've had to go through. And you look at the fact that in so many states, it is now so incredibly difficult. And the people of America are responding. I mean, everywhere where this has been on the ballot. We put it on the ballot in my election last year in a state that Donald Trump won by, about 26 points? And I won re-election by 5 percentage points. It tells you that the American people are fed up at this extremism. They want a better tomorrow. And we're going to elect Kamala Harris and Tim Walz to get that better tomorrow.
Now, I want to turn to the economy, which is the issue that most Americans say is the most important to them. Kamala Harris is doing somewhat better in some of the swing state polls than Joe Biden had, and some of the national polls, which are less important as a barometer of what's going to really happen on Election Day, with the Electoral College being all that counts. But on the economy as an issue, she's inching up only about 2 points better than Joe Biden had been, and 9-point lead still for Donald Trump on the economy. Why can't Democrats kind of crack that?
Well, we need to make sure that we're out there talking about what both Joe Biden and Kamala Harris have done for the economy. Joe Biden's plan is about a long-term healthy economy. We're reshoring so much of our supply chain so we never go through what we did in the pandemic ever again. We're investing in future industries like electric vehicles and chips. Kamala Harris's plan is about the right now. It's about being able to afford your first home, both in expanding supply and the affordability. It's about middle-class tax credits that are going to help so many families out there. It's about capping prescription drug costs, which we all know can be so challenging. But it's about talking about it. It's about showing it. It's about showing up to places that wouldn't have been built without your policies, and I think they're going to do that.
And, you know, finally, we're talking about the numbers. I mean, you survived a re-election in a red state where Trump had such a big lead and you still won by 5 points. What is your message to other Democrats who really need to do that? That's what they need to do in Pennsylvania, Western Pennsylvania, as well as a lot of red states.
Well, my message is we've got to run and govern where people wake up in the morning. And they're not thinking about the polls. They're not really even thinking about this election. They're thinking about their job, whether they make enough to support their family. They're thinking about their next doctor's appointment, the roads and bridges they're going to drive, the public school that their kids go to, and their public safety. Those are places, especially with the extremism that Donald Trump has embraced, where we can move the needle. And when we do that, when we improve people's lives, we don't move a state or the country to the right or the left. We just move it forward. And that's what people want, a better life.
Thank you so much, Governor Andy Beshear from the great state of Kentucky.
Thanks for having me.
Good to have you here. And they're back. The Obamas taking center stage to make the case for Kamala Harris. Next, a former top Obama and Biden advisor, Susan Rice, joins me with what we can expect. You're watching Andrea Mitchell Reports live in Chicago at the Democratic National Convention.
Check these out, Harry. Hands-free Skechers slip-ins. You just step in and they're on.
I must be dreaming.
No, mate, they're real.
Well, if I'm not dreaming, why is Snoop Dogg here?
I got a show at the stadium tonight.
Ah, that makes sense.
No hands-free with Skechers slip-ins.
It's time to feed the dogs real food in the right amount. A healthy weight can help dogs live a longer, happier life. The Farmer's Dog makes weight management easy with fresh food pre-portioned for your dog's needs. It's an idea whose time has come.
Anyone home?
In here, Aunt Jean.
How's it going, honey?
There's a lot to take care of. More sympathy cards.
Your mom was well loved. I hope you know how grateful she was to have you.
I know. Speaking of grateful,
what is it?
It's a check from United of Omaha Life Insurance Company. Mom's life insurance.
Life insurance? So soon?
Just like they said.
My sister, always looking out for her family.
I can still hear her. I don't want my bills to be your problem. This check will help a lot.
If you're age 45 to 85, you can't be turned down for up to $25,000 in life insurance from United of Omaha. Policies start at just $6.38 a month, and benefits could be paid in as little as 24 hours.
How did she qualify? You know, with her health issues.
With these policies, health issues don't matter. She was so relieved.
Policies are available with no health questions, no medical exam, no blood tests.
I just assumed life insurance would be way over my budget.
No one kept a tighter budget than Mom. If she can manage the rates, you can too.
But did her rates go up every year?
Nope. There's a rate lock built into the policy.
Policies start at just $6.38 a month. Your rate is locked in for life. The cost of a funeral can be $9,000 or more. With one call, you can give your loved ones the protection they need to help pay these costs. And unlike some policies, benefits are payable from the first day.
Mom just felt better knowing we'd have help, and I couldn't be more grateful. You should call United of Omaha.
I guess I'll never stop learning from my big sister.
Don't put off life insurance. Call United of Omaha today.
Call 800-294-8515. You can't be turned down. Call today to lock in your rates. 800-294-8515. That's 800-294-8515.
Tamara, Izzy, and Emma. They respond to emails with phone calls. And they don't circle back. They're already there. They wear business sneakers and pad their keyboards with something that makes their clickety-clacking clickety-clackier. But no one loves logistics as much as they do. You need Tamara, Izzy, and Emma. They need a retirement plan. Work with Principal so we can help you with a retirement and benefits plan that's right for your team. Let our expertise round out yours.
When the sawdust settles and the engine finally roars, the thing you care about most is a job well done. But when you get your tools from Harbor Freight, something about the job feels a little different. Your wallet. Because we believe no matter what you're working on, you need high-quality tools at a great price. And that's what we're all about. Whatever you do it for less at Harbor Freight.
This bakery needs new equipment fast to keep up with demand. So they're going to On Deck, the online lender that makes it easy to choose your loan and if approved, get funds as soon as the same day. Your loan is on deck.
Hi, I'm Jay Jackson. For almost 20 years, Abacus Life has been purchasing life insurance policies from seniors. And in just seconds, you can use the free calculator at abacuspays.com to learn what your policy might be worth.
For many of my clients, selling their life insurance to Abacus was right for them and their estate plan.
Don't sell or lapse your policy without going to abacuspays.com first. There are no fees and no obligations. Get the real value from your life insurance when you need it with Abacus.
This bakery needs new equipment fast to keep up with demand. So they're going to On Deck, the online lender that makes it easy to choose your loan and, if approved, get funds as soon as the same day. Your loan is on deck.
Tonight, Barack and Michelle Obama are the big headliners so far on the primetime convention program. The former president has been advising Vice President Kamala Harris since she replaced Joe Biden at the top of the ticket. And joining me now is Susan Rice, who was in charge of President Biden's White House Domestic Policy Council. Of course, is also the former National Security Advisor and former ambassador to the UN during the Obama administration. Ambassador, thank you so much.
Great to be with you, as always.
So, the importance of Michelle and Barack Obama in their own hometown, it can't be overstated. The return of the Obamas on this convention floor is going to be wild.
It's going to be electric. Last night was tremendous. It was a wonderful opportunity to give Joe Biden his due. He's been an extraordinary president. But tonight, I think you'll see the same degree of enthusiasm for Barack and Michelle Obama. You know, they are superstars in the political firmament and beloved in this city and beloved by every single person in this stadium.
And the president went very far to say that there's no anger, no resentment. We hear differently from a lot of people. Obviously, you know, those of us who cover politics know the backstories here. There was pressure from congressional leaders. Everyone was involved. President Obama was involved, but they are trying to patch it over, and he is certainly trying to be as gracious as possible. No one has ever been forced to give up, pressured, I should say, not forced, because no one could take it away from him, but willingly stepping aside for the good of the party.
Well, I mean, what Joe Biden did was absolutely extraordinary. Patriotic, selfless, courageous, and a testament of his 50 years of service to the country. He's been the best president in many respects since Lyndon Johnson, gotten more done legislatively. And so he deserves all of the credit that he is getting and will continue to get. And President Obama and President Biden are longtime friends, close colleagues. I'm sure that will remain the case. And they have enormous respect and admiration for each other, and they've been instrumental in each other's success.
And a lot of the veterans, the political advisors from the Obama world are now coming to work for the Harris campaign as well. So the party is coming together in a lot of ways. And a lot of those domestic successes legislatively were under your umbrella. Significantly, though, the Gaza war with all the protesters outside, and it's been more restrained than some might have feared. You know, fencing came down, it was quickly put back up again. But there are 30 uncommitted delegates, I talked to some of them from Minnesota, who still want to see a commitment from Kamala Harris to a ceasefire and are trying to negotiate for something. They're not doing anything to protest or disrupt. They just want to talk. How challenging is that when you've got the leaders in both Israel and Hamas who've been significantly raising obstacles along the way?
Well, Vice President Harris and President Biden have been very, very clear that they are working as hard as possible to achieve a ceasefire and the return of the hostages. This war has gone on too long. There's been too much suffering on both sides, as the president said last night. And
let me, in fact, play that, because the first time he's ever made the point about the protesters themselves.
I don't think it's the first time, but in this context.
In this context,
yes.
Yeah. So let's just play that and show people.
Finally deliver a ceasefire and end this war. Those protesters out in the street, they have a point. A lot of innocent people are being killed on both sides.
That was an ad lib. And I was actually on the floor and I was looking back and forth at the teleprompter. That was an ad lib. And he is trying to bridge the divide. Kamala Harris, according to all of our reporting from NSC, State Department, other of her colleagues, was more out front internally in terms of pushing to understand what was going on inside Gaza to the civilians.
Well, look, we're all deeply concerned about the humanitarian suffering. What happened on October 7th was horrific, a terrorist attack that was unprecedented, and yet the suffering that has ensued in Gaza is extraordinary, and that's why the president and the vice president are so committed to ending the war, getting a ceasefire, getting the hostages back. They feel it deeply. And it's very important that that be achieved. My friend and colleague, Tony Blinken, Secretary of State, is in the region working very hard, as he has been for many months, towards that end. And hopefully, we will get there sooner rather than later.
9 shuttle missions and returning tonight and hoping that he's bridged the gaps. Dr. Susan Rice, thank you so much, Ambassador.
Good to be with you.
See you.
Thank you.
Thank you. And next, the pitch to Republican voters from Republican mayors speaking here tonight, why he says Kamala Harris, a Democrat, is the only choice for president. You're watching Andrea Mitchell Reports on the MSNBC.
If you're looking for a Medicare supplement insurance plan that's smart now,
I'm 65.
And really smart later,
I'm 70-ish.
Consider an AARP Medicare supplement insurance plan from United Healthcare. With this type of plan, you'll know up front about how much your care costs, which makes planning your financial future easier. So call United Healthcare today to learn more about the only plans of their kind with the AARP name, and set yourself and your future self up with an AARP Medicare supplement plan from United Healthcare.
You need new replacement windows, but you're just not sure if they're in the budget this year, right? I'm Brian Gary here with Ted Coons from Renewal by Anderson, and he's here to talk about how to make window replacement more affordable.
Well, first, Brian, you don't have to do them all. You could just replace your worst windows first. Or another way to make them affordable is to change the style of window. For example, you could do a gliding window instead of a casement. We have a lot of ways to make window projects really affordable.
Compared to other window companies, you have a completely different business model.
Yeah, with other companies, there's just too many people involved in the process. There's the manufacturer, the seller, and then the installer, and then the customer. And if you call with a problem, that's when they say, oh, well, we're the manufacturer. You have to call the installer for that problem, or vice versa. We're the full-service replacement window division of Anderson. With us, there's no passing the buck. At Renewal by Anderson, we sell, build, install, and warrant our windows and patio doors. So if there's ever an issue, we take full responsibility for it.
Why don't you sell vinyl windows?
It doesn't matter if it's a $200 window or a $1,200 window. A lot of vinyl windows just don't last. For energy efficiency and beauty, there's a much better option. Our windows' Fibrex composite material is available in 9 designer colors, and it's much more durable than vinyl. Well, Fibrex is low maintenance like vinyl, but stronger than vinyl. And it's beautiful like wood, but doesn't require the upkeep of wood.
It's Renewal by Anderson's 31-day sales event. Buy one window, patio door, or entry door and get the next one 40% off with a minimum purchase of 4. Plus, save an extra $45 on every window and door with no money down, no monthly payments, and no interest for 12 months. Our 31-day sales event ends August 31st. For a free appointment during this sales event, call 1-800-460-7700.
For people who feel limited by the unpredictability of generalized myasthenia gravis and who are anti-AChR antibody positive, season to season, Ultomiris is continuous symptom control with improvement in activities of daily living. It is reduced muscle weakness. And Ultomiris is the only long-acting GMG treatment with the freedom of just 6 to 7 infusions per year. For a predictable routine, I can count on
Ultomiris can lower your immune system's ability to fight infections, increasing your chance of serious meningococcal infections, which may become life-threatening or fatal, and other types of infections. Complete or update your meningococcal vaccines at least 2 weeks before starting Ultomiris. If Ultomiris is urgent, you should also receive antibiotics with your vaccines. Before starting Ultomiris, tell your doctor about all of your medical conditions and medications. Ultomiris can cause reactions such as back pain, tiredness, dizziness, limb discomfort, or bad taste. Ultomiris is moving forward with continuous symptom control. Ask your neurologist about starting Ultomiris.
With Chime, I get to decide when I get paid. My pay lets me get up to $500 of my pay when I need it. There's no interest, no credit checks, no mandatory fees. And that's why I Chime. Join me at Chime.com and get paid when you say.
We're excited to do business with you, but before we sign, I gotta ask.
Sure, anything.
We searched you online, and maybe you can explain this?
Can't believe that garbage is still coming in. That is so false.
Frustrated with your online search results? Call Reputation Defender today to join tens of thousands who've improved their online reputation. Get your free reputation report card at reputationdefender.com or call 1-877-866-8555.
One of my favorite supplements is Cunol Turmeric. Turmeric helps with healthy joints and inflammation support, and Cunol has the #1 doctor-recommended form of turmeric. Cunol, the brand I trust.
Here at the DNC this week, we're hearing from Republicans for Harris. That's what they call themselves, Republican leaders who the Harris Walls campaign says, quote, put country over party. Among them, Mayor John Giles of Mesa, Arizona, who joins me now. Mayor Giles, in your op-ed endorsing Kamala Harris, you say that this is the spirit of John McCain, a great Arizonan, of course.
Right.
What's your message tonight?
Well, it is the John McCain motto of country over party.
I warned you they could begin rehearsing.
Right on cue, wasn't it? So yeah, John McCain. I worked as an intern in John McCain's office, and he's always been a hero of mine. And so I feel privileged to be able to continue that message of country over party. And it's a message that has never been more necessary than right now. This is a pivotal time in our country, and people like me kind of feel like we're politically homeless. You know, we traditionally have been Republicans. We've traditionally been in the center of our country politically, but we're getting a lot of disinformation right now. So I think it's important that people like me give Republicans and people in the center politically permission to do the right thing, which is to support the vice president.
Now, the Arizona Republicans censored you for endorsing Democrat Mark Kelly 2 years ago for the Senate.
Right.
And so what's your response?
Well, that was a very similar situation. You know, as a rule, I love
that
being...
That was the Carrie Lake.
Yes, that's part of the explanation for why I did that. Actually, Carrie Lake was running against Governor Hobbs, and so I endorsed our Democratic governor then. So again, it's the same explanation. I love being the mayor of my hometown. I am a registered Republican, but it's a nonpartisan office, and I work in a bipartisan fashion with progressive Democrats and conservative Republicans on our city council, and we get along great, and we do great things because we focus on the issues that are in the middle. And that's the message that I think that we need to embrace, that there's a lot of time wasted on the extremes. But if we focus on treating issues like immigration and the border and the economy like problems to be solved, there's a lot of great work that can be done.
There are a couple of other Republicans here, former Republican congressman from Illinois, of course, Adam Kinzinger, who was such an important part of the impeachment committee, and former Georgia Lieutenant Governor Jeff Duncan. So they've come to the same conclusion and have been ostracized by their party.
Right, and frankly, back in Arizona, we're going to have a great party. All of us that have been censured. It is a badge of honor for what the party of John McCain is gone, and it's hard to figure out what has been left. But it's not a party that I think has the best interests of the majority of our country at the top of their agenda.
Well, on the issues, it's not the party of Gerald Ford or Ronald Reagan either.
Right.
And so what It is the Donald Trump party. That was very clear from the convention.
No question.
And what does that really mean for the future of the Republican Party and Republicanism?
Well, I think that that's certainly one of the issues on the ballot in this election is what is the future of the Republican Party? Donald Trump promised us that we'd get tired of winning, didn't he? And really, our experience has been just the opposite. I know in Arizona, the MAGA candidates are doing very well in primaries, and then they're failing miserably in general elections. So again, I think the Republican Party has lost sight of where the pulse of our country is and where the mainstream of our country is.
There's a New York Times Siena poll just this past week showing that Vice President Harris is actually leading Donald Trump in Arizona by 5 percentage points. So what more does she need to do to translate that poll into a reality in Arizona?
She needs to do more of the same. I think she has a winning message. Certainly, the Republican Party nationally and in Arizona is going to try to pin her with some false claims about the border, about what the best way to solve those problems are. Clearly, the solution to the border was the bipartisan immigration and border bill that Donald Trump blocked. They're also going to try to blame her for the housing affordability issue that we're experiencing in Arizona. So I think the announcements that she's made on the economy in the last week and more of the same will help there. So I'm very optimistic that she'll do well, but Arizona is still too close to call.
Well, thanks for that analysis. We'll have to talk to you during the campaign. It's only an 80-some day campaign, so
I hope we make it.
With you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mayor Giles. And high stakes next, how the Trump-Harris showdown is going to impact the legacies of some of the biggest names in politics. As one of basketball's best coaches and a former Chicago Bulls champion in this very arena, gives the vice president an assist.
In the words of the great Steph Curry, we can tell Donald Trump, night-night. Thank you.
We're still going for that nice catch.
We're still going for that perfect pizza. And with higher stroke risk from AFib not caused by a heart valve problem,
we're going for a better treatment than warfarin. Eliquis. Eliquis reduces stroke risk and has less major bleeding. Over 97% of Eliquis patients did not experience a stroke.
Don't stop taking Eliquis without talking to your doctor, as this may increase your risk of stroke. Eliquis can cause serious and, in rare cases, fatal bleeding. Don't take Eliquis if you have an artificial heart valve or abnormal bleeding. While taking, you may bruise more easily or take longer for bleeding to stop. Get help right away for unexpected bleeding or unusual bruising. It may increase your bleeding risk if you take certain medicines. Tell your doctor about all planned medical or dental procedures.
The #1 cardiologist prescribed blood thinner. Ask your doctor about Eliquis.
Hi! Need new glasses? Buy one pair, get one free at VisionWorks. How can you see me squinting? I can't, I'm just telling everyone. Hey!
Buy one pair, get one free for back to school. VisionWorks. See the difference.
Life is better with the credit gods on your side. Rewards once available to the few are now accessible to the many. Credit One Bank. Get cash back rewards and live large.
Your memory is an amazing thing, but sometimes it can start to slow down. But did you know Prevagen can help keep your memory sharp? The secret is the powerful ingredient apoaquarin, originally discovered in jellyfish and found only in Prevagen. In a clinical study, Prevagen was shown to improve memory in subgroups of individuals who are cognitively normal or mildly impaired. Stay sharp and improve your memory with Prevagen. Prevagen, in stores everywhere without a prescription.
What will you do when the power goes out? Power outages can be unpredictable and inconvenient, but with a Generac home standby generator, your life goes on uninterrupted because you'll have power when you need it the most.
The #1 thing to prepare for is extended power outages. Don't make it so hard on yourself. Have a Generac home standby generator.
And special financing and low monthly payment options are available. Call or go online now to request your free quote. Power your life with Generac.
Still have symptoms from moderate to severe ulcerative colitis or Crohn's disease after a TNF blocker like Humira or Remicade? Put them in check with Rinvoq. Rinvoq works differently and it's a once-daily pill.
When symptoms tried to take control, I got rapid relief with Rinvoq. Check.
When flares tried to slow me down, I got lasting steroid-free remission with Rinvoq. Check.
And when my doctor saw damage, Rinvoq helped visibly reduce damage of the intestinal lining. Check.
Rapid symptom relief, lasting steroid-free remission.
And visibly reduced damage. Check, check, and check.
Rinvoq can lower your ability to fight infections, including TB, serious infections and blood clots, some fatal. Cancers, including lymphoma and skin. Heart attack, stroke, and GI tears occurred. People 50 and older with a heart disease risk factor have an increased risk of death. Serious allergic reactions can occur. Tell your doctor if you are or may become pregnant.
Put UC and Crohn's in check and keep them there with Rinvoq.
Ask your gastroenterologist about Rinvoq and learn how AbbVie can help you save.
It's time. Yes, the time has come for a fresh approach to dog food. Every day, more dog people are deciding it's time to quit the kibble and feed their dogs fresh food from the farmer's dog. Made by vets and delivered right to your door, precisely portioned for your dog's needs. It's an idea whose time has come.
MSNBC Live Democracy 2024, Saturday, September 7th in Brooklyn, New York. Join your favorite MSNBC hosts at our premier live audience event. Visit msnbc.com/democracy2024 to buy your tickets today. Go beyond the headlines with the MSNBC app. Read, listen, and watch live breaking news and analysis anytime, anywhere. Go beyond the what to understand the why. Download the MSNBC app now.
Kamala locked up murderers and drug traffickers. She will never rest in defense of our freedom and safety. Donald Trump fell asleep at his own trial, and when he woke up, he made his own kind of history, the first person to run for president with 34 felony convictions.
Chance of lock him up as Hillary Clinton took a jab at Donald Trump last night. And by the way, she let it go. She didn't push back against it. Joining me now, NBC News senior political editor Mark Murray, staff writer at The New Yorker, Susan Glasser, and former Biden 2020 campaign senior advisor Alencia Johnson. So, Susan, you put it out online that Democrats appear to have figured out how to deal with Donald Trump by poking fun at him, being derisive, you know, sort of belittling him. And he doesn't seem to know how to deal with that.
Yeah, Donald Trump, like a lot of very self-involved people, doesn't have the greatest sense of humor. And he certainly doesn't have a sense of humor about himself, and he doesn't like to be laughed at. What's interesting is that we're now 9 years into the Trump show in politics, and I'm struck by how it's really this campaign, much more so than in 2016 or 2020, that you have the sort of Democrats as happy warriors phase. Hillary Clinton seems, you know, just delighted to be poking, jabbing at Donald Trump. And I should say, I thought she was really the kind of crowd favorite last night here. In addition, of course, to Joe Biden, the president got his valedictory night. He was certainly overwhelmingly cheered by the crowd. But aside from Biden, I thought that Hillary really was the, you know, the kind of center of gravity of this crowd here in the Democratic convention last night.
One thing that seemed to be missing, Mark, was more definition about Kamala Harris. Who is she? And there was a little biofilm and some, you know, very poignant reminiscences from a friend and a friend's mother about her own mom, but not the kind of glossy Hollywood biopic that actually we've seen since 92 in Madison Square Garden, The Man from Hope, that a lot of people didn't know who Bill Clinton was other than the scandal-ridden primaries.
Yeah, this is one of the goals and challenges for Harris over these 4 days. And day one, of course, was about Joe Biden and passing that torch. And so it's probably understandable that you didn't get into a lot of the meat and bones about who Harris is and what she wants to do as president. But there is some polling, Andrea, coming from CBS News and YouGov that ends up showing that 64% of voters say that they know what Kamala Harris stands for. That's a pretty good number. That's 2/3 of voters. But it pales pales in comparison to the 86% who say, I know what Donald Trump stands for. And so, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, what we end up hearing about her life stories, who she is, what she stands for, and the kind of policies that she wants to push, to me, are probably maybe the biggest goal that's remaining for her.
Let me just follow up on that. I hadn't looked at that poll as deeply as you have, but is it a good thing necessarily that 86% know what Donald Trump stands for, because maybe some of them don't like what he stands for?
Well, and Andrea, look, I think that's a really great follow-up. And part of the, what we're going to end up seeing about Harris is the race to define her and who does the better job. Is it her campaign in the Democratic Party, or is it Republicans that try to do it? Right now, I actually do think that she's probably benefiting a little bit from people who don't know her, that she's seen as a generic Democrat in this political environment. That might be good enough to win, but I think the race to define her over the next 3 months is going to be key.
And who defines her first, for good or for bad. Alencia, you've been through this before with other candidates, and how important is it to fill in the gap for her to state her policies? Because as a vice president, she's not supposed to have her own policies. That would be disloyal. But now she's the top of the ticket. Joe Biden has had this gracious and grateful send-off. And it's up to her.
Yeah, as I was watching the speech again, his speech this morning, I was thinking about the unique position that we're in, and that usually during a convention, the candidate has to talk about what the party has done, or if they're running for re-election, talk about what they've already done and their plans for the next 4 years. But here we have this unique opportunity where Joe Biden is doing his victory lap, right? Which is the Biden-Harris administration victory lap. And that gives her the opportunity, along with a lot of the surrogates that will be coming this week, to talk about the future, how to build upon all of that, the policy positions. Sure, she rolled out her economic policy last week in North Carolina, but she's going to be able to really hone in on some of the big issues that voters are wanting to hear about. But over the last 4 years, and actually even during the Donald Trump presidency, voters have defined the issues that they care about from Democrats, and so you'll see more of that as she shapes her policy positions this week.
What about all the pressure that started with the Trump people, but now it's certainly become a common narrative in the media, is when is she going to start giving interviews? When is she going to sit down and answer questions beyond just stopping quickly into the press corps? That's the pool.
Yeah, well, look, one of my roles when I was working with the Biden-Harris campaign in 2020 was actually helping them decide which interviews that she's going to do.
Oh, and you're the one.
In some spaces, right? And particularly to reach to some younger audiences, Black audiences. And she loves actually talking to media. I think where she was handed this about a little over 3 weeks ago, she said, I want to actually talk to voters and earn their vote. I don't think it's a no. It's just let me actually make some time.
Well, she was a little gun shy at first, and then she stumbled with that Lester Holt interview on immigration. And, it took her time to regain her confidence, Susan.
Yeah, there's no question about that. She has had a particularly sort of up and down story with the media as vice president. Now, it's a terrible job. Let's be blunt. We've had certainly Democratic vice presidents who've tried to make the most of the job, whether Al Gore or Joe Biden, for that matter, who was very involved in policy as Obama's vice president. But it's not a good job, and it's particularly not a good job for somebody who wants to step into the top job. There's a reason that so few incumbent vice presidents have stepped directly into the presidency. That's very rare in our whole history for exactly the reason that we're talking about. But I'm struck by the fact that you use the term generic Democrat. Generic Democrat probably beats Donald Trump. There is not a pro-Trump majority in this country. So to a certain extent, Harris has to thread the needle of, not being seen as outright evasive or not helpful. But at the same time, she wants to stick pretty close to generic Democrat, because what the people here want, the reason she's had this rapturous reception is because they want to win. That's the biggest applause line here.
Mm-hmm. Susan Glasser. Mark Murray. Oh, thanks to all of you, Alencia Johnson. And that does it for this edition of Andrea Mitchell Reports on day 2 of the DNC. Remember, follow us on social media at Mitchell Reports, and you can rewatch the best parts of our show anytime on YouTube. Just go to msnbc.com/Andrea. Chris Chansing
want to mess around and they want quality, they call us.
What can you say about your certified master installers?
Well, a new window or door is only going to last if it's installed properly. Renewal by Andersen installers go through intense classroom and field training programs. Many of them have installed thousands of windows. I mean, talk about mastering something.
If the homeowner has an issue and has to chase down different contractors and companies, they get stuck in the blame game, and that's the worst.
Right. The manufacturer points to the installer points to the manufacturer. With us, there's no blame game or finger pointing because we manage the whole process, from consultation to installation.
And you don't do estimates?
No, we do something better. We'll come out, assess your current windows and doors, and leave you with an exact price that's good for an entire year.
Nice, no pressure.
Today's homeowner, a trusted home improvement resource for over 35 years, named Renewal by Andersen the top pick for replacement window companies. We're proud of that. Oh, and here's this month's discount.
It's Renewal by Andersen's 31-day sales event. Buy one window, patio door, or entry door and get the next one 40% off with a minimum purchase of 4. Plus, save an extra $45 off every window and door with no money down, no monthly payments, and no interest for 12 months. Our 31-day sales event ends August 31st. For a free appointment during this sales event, call 1-800-460-7700.
To me, Harlem is home. But home is also your body.
Last one, everyone.
I asked myself, why doesn't Pilates exist in Harlem? So I started my own studio. Getting a brick and mortar in New York is not easy. Chase Inc. has supported us from Studio 1 to Studio 3. When you start small, you need some big help, and Chase Inc. was that for me.
Earn up to 5% cash back on business essentials with the Chase Inc. Business Cash Card from Chase for Business. Make more of what's yours.
I need Q1 full index reports to my desk by noon, complete with comprehensive data analysis.
Are you getting any of
and
this?
insights. Charles.
Yeah,
Otter's
got the meeting notes.
I'll
ask it for action items in the channel. And Maria already asked for a budget reminder. Smart.
Judge mom by morning. Got it?
Got it, boss. Otter, you got this.
I was seeing this bra all over my Instagram feed. I'm sure you're seeing it too.
This is the most comfortable bra I've ever put on in my life.
I love it because, one, it's not underwire. I hate underwire.
It smooths out your back. It doesn't give you back fat or back rolls.
You can wear this under a t-shirt and it wouldn't leave any marks or bulges.
So not only is it super supportive, lifting and smoothing, but you have all that without an underwire and without a ton of padding.
If you're looking at this and it's available, I promise you won't regret it.
Try risk-free. Free returns on all orders.
All right, team, saddle up. I want Q1 full index reports to my desk by noon.
Are you getting any of this? Yeah, Otter's got the meeting notes. I'll ask it for action items in the channel. And Maria already asked for a budget reminder. Smart.
Judge and buy. Got it?
Got it, boss. Otter, you got this.
Good day, I'm Chris Chansing, live from the Democratic National Convention in Chicago, where anticipation is high because the first black president of the United States will be making the case tonight for the woman he hopes will become the second. So why is the star of the show leaving town? Kamala Harris is planned for night 2 of the convention, where she's going, and what she plans to do once she gets there. Plus, in the convention hall, a change in schedule. The campaign says the cheers last night went on so long, the program will start earlier tonight to keep the big speakers in prime time. It's renewing that ongoing question, how do you harness all that energy? I'll ask all about it when a top spokesman for the Harris campaign joins me later this hour. And surrogate-in-chief, President Biden is ready to hit the road after passing the baton to his vice president. While he says he has more to do, can he help turn the affection from the convention into votes come November? So much to get to from in Chicago, but we begin with the party's star power coming to Convention Hall tonight at the DNC. 2 of the greatest orators in the Democratic Party, both happen to be named Obama, set to take the stage just hours from now. Barack and Michelle